Hi guys, my name is Trinity, and if you are here, you must be here to talk about books. In particular, my end of the month wrap up, because I have been having some anxiety, some depression, all of that not so fun stuff. And so this is going to be wrapping up the last 2 weeks. And yes, I am doing this early, but that is because I have started The Way of Kings, and there's no way I'm finishing it before the end of the month. So it will be in my next month's wrap up. So for this particular video, because my brain has been a little scrambled, usually I go from the book that I like the least to the book that I like the most and talk about them in that order. But because of that, I'm going to talk about these books in the order that I read them. So coming in at 4 stars, I read Axioms and by Lindsay Ellis. Guys, I have a new favorite trope. I did not know that this was a trope that I needed in my life, but apparently it is, because I've read 2 books this year that feature this trope, and I cannot get enough. Like, I'm blown away. So this is 4 stars because it's not as good as Project Hail Mary, and I gave Project Hail Mary 5 stars. But I am loving this whole aliens are cinnamon rolls and they just are curious. I love this trope so much. And Axioms End does this. So does Project Hail Mary, and I love it. I adore it. I cannot get enough of it. So in this particular book, our main character, Cora, is kind of living under her father's shadow, and her father is a very well-known conspiracy theorist. However, he has stumbled upon this letter that reveals the existence of aliens. And because he stumbled upon this letter, he has leaked it to the public, and the public has gone a little nutso with it, but it also caused him to flee the country. Like, that's how bad it was. And so her father is still out of the country, still spewing his conspiracy theories, and she is having to live with that, only to realize he might be right, and facing the fact that her dad might be right about it. But this book was very good. I highly recommend it. This does tick off another book on my Pop Sugar challenge, which would be a book written by a YouTuber. So check out Lindsay Ellis's YouTube as well. Okay, so the second book that I read would be For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. And this is a book that I had on hold at the library because I didn't know for sure if it was going to be a book that I would like, because it's pitched as Little Red Riding or Red and Beauty and the Beast, and kind of interweaving those stories. And I was like, okay, this could go really well, or it could be like trash. And I have to say, I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I think I expected a little bit more from the story than what it gave, but man, this was better than what I anticipated. And so I will be buying it whenever I get the chance. But I really loved the characterization of Red. I thought that it was a fantastic story revolving around her. I really loved the interweaving of the sister in this story. It was really well done. And I'm always keen on a forest setting. Like, sell me a really great forest setting and I am there for it. Love it. I still have Ghostwood Song to read, and I'm very excited about that. Like, forest settings, I'm sold. Queens of Renthia, I'm sold. But this one, I don't want to talk spoilers, but I don't know how to talk about it without saying what I want to say. I really loved how the stories were weaved together to create something completely different. And I really loved the Beauty and the Beast aspect between Red and the Wolf, because it was really, really well done. And I liked their relationship. I thought the magic was really cool. And yeah, read For the Wolf. I think it's definitely worth it. Next would be 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. Now, I loved Circe by Madeline Miller. And this is kind of written in the same vein, where we have a female-centered cast in this book, but we have a female central story in Circe. And they are told in almost like a fairy tale kind of way, which allows you to be really immersed in this whole story, this setting. But this spans the Trojan War and the women who got left behind as a result of the Trojan War. We touch on mythology. Circe is mentioned in this because Odysseus is mentioned in this. And I loved it. I gave Circe 5 stars, so I had to give this one 4 stars because I didn't think that it was quite what Circe was. Circe was its own story. This read like a big group of short stories woven together, which I don't think is bad, but it kind of pulls you out of the story when the story is not cohesive. So next, I read Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. I don't think Rivers Solomon is the author for me. I don't think the book was bad. I gave it 3 stars. I don't think it was bad per se, but it couldn't hold my interest. I was getting really, really bored. And the slow pacing, the unraveling of the story as it is kind of not intriguing. The characters were good. I did like the characters, and it took too long to get where we were going, and I don't like books like that. It's half the reason that I don't like The Wheel of Time, because it takes way too long to get where we're going with these things, and I'm like, okay, you gotta stop. Like, we gotta have some kind of action, some kind of plot to push us forward. And so I just don't think River Solomon is the author for me, because this is critique that I have heard across the board from people like me. Like, I know River Solomon is very well liked, but people like me, readers like me, just kind of, we can't handle that slow unraveling of a story. And so I just don't think I'll pick up any more River Solomon. I am kind of sad because I was really looking forward to this and I liked the premise of it a lot. Oh, and if you don't know, Vern is a girl who escapes a religious community and is pregnant, runs off into the wilderness to have her baby, has 2 babies, and kind of lives life in the wild, just trying to avoid going back to this religious community. There's a sapphic relationship in it, and I just, there are very good things about this book. It just was not the book for me. All right, let's talk about Recursion by Blake Crouch. As you guys know, I'm trying to get more into sci-fi, and Blake Crouch is supposed to be where it is in sci-fi. I liked this book. I did. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was one of the greatest books ever. So I landed at a 3 star. I liked it. It's okay. I liked it. Nothing wrong with it. I didn't like the ending of this book. I didn't like the whole Groundhog Day effect that set in at the end of this book because I don't like repetition. And so reading the end of this book was torture when I loved the first 2/3 of it. So I am glad that I borrowed this from the library and didn't buy it, because I think I probably would have taken it back to the buy-sell trade, just because I couldn't stand the ending of the story. And I liked that this focused on something that could be possible, but was very highly, highly unlikely. And so you can see the science elements playing into the story very well. And, you know, it didn't take away from the telling of the story. You're really caught up in the whole time travel aspect of it. You're really caught up in the whole righting past wrongs, going back and changing the past. You get caught up in it. But that ending, I wasn't a fan of that ending. I didn't like it. And so it went from a 5-star book to a 3 very quickly by the way that it ended. It's a book that I read before I started The Way of Kings would be Horrid by Katrina Leno. Let me tell you how much I love this book. So I gave this 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars because the writing is a little bit simple. And I say that, and I want to point this out because this is Gothic horror. This is Gothic horror done right. But one of the things that you look for in Gothic horror, or most people look for in a Gothic horror, is that beautiful, flowing, atmospheric writing. This doesn't quite have that. So what I want to say about this book in particular, this is a great primer for Gothic horror. If you are wanting to get into Gothic horror, think you might like the genre, think it might be for you, give this a go, because I really think a lot of the elements of this story were done very, very well. And I'm going to hold on to this. Usually with my young adult, I end up unhauling them, or unless they become a favorite series, but I'm going to be holding on to this one because I really, really think that this is a great Gothic primer, and I want to keep recommending it. If you want to dip your toe into the genre, if you think you might like the genre, definitely read this because I think you will enjoy it. I love it. All right, that is it for me today. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.